job training athletes. Why are you successful? Why do you get the cream of the crop? And why are you so successful training athletes, Clay?
Well, I think for me, I've learned how to evolve with time. To be honest, I think everybody wants to just kind of not adjust. You know what I'm saying? Back when I played in the SEC, we had some teams that threw the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like Tennessee and Florida and some of those teams with Spurrier and those guys, and Peyton Manning and those guys. But the thing about it is, now it's more of an open field game. I call it 7-on-7 and pads. You know what I'm saying? So I think the liability is definitely on the forefront as relates to guys being able to have an open field skill set. So that's when a lot of defenses now has ran to the five defensive back type of schemes, like a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5 type of setup. And what have you. So now, skill sets are really, really prevalent. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think I contribute or attribute a lot of my success to the fact that, I got, I had success early, with guys. And I tell people all the time, my guys make me. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever we, we get into the lab and kind of go over and develop or what have you, they still got to go out there and execute it. So as they execute it, it makes me, look a little bit more better, you know what I'm saying, in regards to that. So, dating back from, Tayshaun Gibson to Jamal Adams to Jalen Mills to John Abrams out of Mississippi State, Trayvon Mullins and, Jeff Okuda, et cetera, whatnot. We spend a lot of time, developing our skill sets and our fundamentals. And, when I talk to people who either know or don't know that I train Jamal Adams, the one thing that I tell them all the time is that, me and Jamal have been around each other since sixth grade. You know what I'm saying? So I've had him for a long, long time. So
wow.
So some of the little nuances that I train guys that I just get. I mean, I talked, me and Jamal went over that stuff 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So when he went to the combine and had pro day, he'd been pro day and combine ready since probably, sophomore year in high school, easy. You know what I'm saying? Because, we worked some of those nuances so much. You know what I'm saying? So it was second nature to us. You know what I'm saying? So drills and things of that sort and whatnot. Those are playthings for us because, like I said, I'm so meticulous in what I do. So
he is Clay Mack, played football at Mississippi State, NFL Combine Specialist in Dallas, and has worked with Jeff Okuda and Jamal Adams. And you mentioned Jonathan Abram. Abrams, a first-round pick with the Raiders, and had a heck of a career at Mississippi State. When did you start working with Jonathan Abram?
I had him. I've been having him probably about 3 years now.
Okay.
He come down in the summertime and visit, and say I start correcting some things on him. Naturally, he had a physical nature about him, and he's one of the smartest guys that you ever want to meet and want to come around. Real calculated with his thoughts and just kind of real cerebral. How he approach things. Eccentric in his own way. Also, but I just think that part of what makes him, to be honest. But as far as football IQ, I've only came across a handful of guys who have the type of football IQ that he has. So my deal was when we first met and agreed to connect and start training was, when we watched film, and I watched film on him and kind of broke him down a little bit. The physical side of it was obvious. You know what I'm saying? What I had to try to incorporate with him was the finesse side. You know what I'm saying? So I tell all my safeties, for instance, I don't train corners or safeties. I train defensive backs. But I train them with a corner platform, though. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing like a safety that has a defensive that have cornerback mannerisms, for that matter. So if the formation make you come down in the box and cover a slot guy, well, you just went from safety to slot corner now. So you better have slot corner mannerisms. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that that we've always worked on, in relation to John.
Clay Mack on the Out of Bounds Show in the Miller Lite guest line, NFL Combine Specialist out of Dallas, Texas. How many guys are you training at one time? I mean, what kind of load can you handle and still be effective, Clay?
Well, for me, prior to this Corona deal, I've had groups up to 60, 70 kids at a time. And the reason I can maintain large groups is because of how deep I dig in it from a fundamental perspective. I don't have guys just doing drills. So, for instance, if your stance is off balance, Okay, so why are we doing drills if you don't have the preset to be able to do the drill? I mean, so it really don't make sense to me. It's kind of productive. So, I can have, like an Army contingency, if you will. So if you walk into a complex and you see 50, 60, 70 DDs and everybody's lined up like we're about to go to war, well, we're probably working on stance. We're probably working on your first pedal step. I call it 3-5-7 series. So we're working on your first pedal step, your third one, your fifth one, your seventh one. Anything after about 7 pedal steps, it's time to open up anyway. So, I mean, if you're off man, you're already sitting at 7 or 8 yards. So, 7 steps from that, I put you at another 5 yards. So you're at the top of the second break zone. You know what I'm saying? So most routes are determined in the second break zone. So, so from that, it's a fundamental deal. You know what I'm saying? So I can go a 2-hour session with multiple kids, and we might not even go 10 yards. You know what I'm saying? That type of deal. So, because I train through functional movement and biomechanical movements and kinetics, so I'm a science guy. So I just apply the science before we actually do drills.
Clay Mack on the Out of Bounds show trains NFL, college, high school players to become better players. So what about, I don't think you've trained this guy, but he's a heck of a player, and I would think you watch a lot of ball on Sunday, but he's a guy that has come through Mississippi State, and many believe he's a top 2 or 3 corner in the league. What do you see in someone like Darius Slay, Clay?
Length, stands out, for him. Great size and the whole nine. But the thing about Slay, what a lot of people fail to realize is that, naturally he's an eccentric guy in his own way also. But again, one of those high football IQ guys, though. You know what I'm saying? And I think that kind of bodes well for him, on the field. And, he's been called on to mirror the other team's top guy, no matter where he's at and things of that sort of whatnot. So, that's the thing that really kind of sticks out with me. It's football IQ. He gets it. He understands the NFL game. Now he's a veteran in it now. So now he don't have to be as athletic or exhausted or exhibit his athletic ability as much. And I think that's a plus. That way you can kind of preserve that and just kind of tap into it whenever you need it. So that's one of the things that I like about him. He had great movements. He's twitchy for his size. So those are some of the things that stood out when I watched him a couple of times.
NFL Combine Specialist Clay Mack out of Dallas, Texas, played ball for Jackie Sherrill. He joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. You're listening Out of Bounds on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Blake, we'll do one more question before we let the man get back to training big-time players.
Clay, Blake Scott here. My question would be this has been a debate back and forth, I guess, between NFL people, like the chicken or the egg, what came first. If you're building a defense, what's more important in your mind, the lockdown corner or the edge rusher? Or do they just have to go hand in hand, and how do they kind of work off each other, I guess would be my question.
I think they go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? And I think it would be disrespectful to say the lockdown corner over the edge or the edge over the defensive back or the lockdown corner. But they go hand in hand. If the corner, delays the guy, let's just say if the corner is pressing, right? If he delays this guy at the line of scrimmage just for an extra tick, well, it gives the edge rusher, one more step or half a step, because 9 times out of 10, the reason the edge rusher don't get the sack because he needed one more step. You know what I'm saying? So, it goes hand in hand. And funny, you're talking about that. I was just in a section the other day, and I brought that up to one of my guys because the whole misnomer about pressing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people say, well, why would you walk up on a guy at the line of scrimmage if you're a DB and not get your hands on him? Okay, well, the illustration that I use is if you was covering you. So I think it's disrespectful to say, well, if you was covering Antonio Brown, if you was covering this guy, if you was covering Julio, if you was covering – because I don't know what you would do against those guys. But if you was covering you, the same genetics, the same DNA, the whole nine, you know what I'm saying? Could you touch you every single play? Probably not, because you know your flaws. Okay, so that's the thing I try to I try to tell guys is that they go hand in hand. One of the guys that you really need to kind of get acquainted with, on the team, whether you're a new guy or whatever the case may be, is your edge rusher guy. You know what I'm saying? You need to know how they're going to rush it, whether they're going to do a if they're in a wide 7 or something like that, so they're going to outside rush. Well, when they outside rush, it creates an inside throwing lane. Okay, if they're doing the stunt with the tackle, okay, well when he goes in and the tackle veers around, well that creates a different throwing lane. You know what I'm saying? So you need to know that. You need to know his passing characteristics. You know what I'm saying? Things of that sort. And from an end perspective, he kind of needs to know who's on his side. You know what I'm saying? From a corner perspective, because now it'll give him an idea on, kind of what he needs to do as well, because now he knows the coverage characteristics of the corner on the side also. So for me, they go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? I don't think a lot of people look at it through those optics. You know what I'm saying? It's either biased one way or other, and it can't be like that. It's a team sport, so you got to look at it through a team mindset and team view.
I like it. We'll do more next time. Clay Mack, skills consultant, NFL Combine specialist, and has worked with many first-rounders, second-rounders, and so on for the NFL draft, and he joined us on the Miller Lite guest line. Clay Mack played for Jackie Sherrill at Mississippi State, and he trains athletes in Dallas, Texas. Clay, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I know. Thank you guys. You guys have a great rest of the day. I appreciate you having me.
We'll do it for 20, 25 minutes next time we have you on. Thanks.
That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome.
Take care. Clay Mack on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Jeff Okudah and Jamal Adams, among
many others.
Arnett, the other DB from Ohio State. So it was one after another that he has trained. That's pretty cool. He's got some Mississippi ties.
I love this answer, obviously, to my question, because that's the whole – everybody's been saying, oh, well, what do you get if you're the franchise? Do you go after the Chase Young, that type of player, the Von Miller, or do you go after the Okudah, the Slay, the primetime, that type of player?
One went 2, one went 3 this year. So, I mean, that is just right there, right?
Right there.
Redskins go with Chase, and then the Lions go with Okudah. Did I have that right?
That's correct.
I think so, yeah.
So I love the way – and for people who watch football, I understand the casual fan just watches the ball. Where's the ball go, right? I get that. But there's a lot of us, especially our listeners, who are diehards. We talked about that earlier with who will go to games, right? Yeah. The diehards will go to the games. The diehards get into the nitty-gritty. If you listen to Clay Mack talk defense like that, I mean, I've watched football for 20-plus years and feel like I've watched it as intently as someone could who's not in the game, so to speak. The nuances of, hey, the passing lane on a stunt versus not a stunt. The nuances on, hey, I need to have outside leverage as a corner if my edge has inside leverage. I mean, it feels like the more you talk to these guys, you go, wow, there is so much. No NFL player is dumb, I guess is the point of what it says. It's like there's so much that goes into it in order to be able to play the sport. Just the nuances of you don't just line up and cover. You don't just line up and rush the quarterback. There's so much more to it.
I agree with you that there's a lot more going on, and they're a lot smarter than we give them credit. We always talk about how smart Russell Wilson is, right?
Because the quarterback makes the decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And he is. He's one of the smartest players to ever play the game. Peyton Manning and so on, Drew Brees, Eli, and so on. But it's a good point, Blake, everything that's going on, especially pre-snap. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. So we'll have Clay Mack on again. We just kind of stumbled upon that. And when the guy told Blake and I that he had trained Jeff Okudah and Jamal Adams, we went, okay, we'll have him on.
Yeah, he's okay.
That sound, and Arnett. I don't want to leave Arnett out from the other corner from Ohio State. We'll continue to have him on every now and then.
Is that good when both your corners get drafted off the same college in the first round? Did you have a good defense?
He's been working with Okudah since junior high, I think.
Yeah. He said he knew Jamal Adams since 6th grade. That's wild.
That is wild. So that was fun. Clay Mack on the Miller Lite guest line. We had John Cohen on earlier on the show, and he discussed student athletes on campus, when football could be played. Again, this is all a guess and speculation, just going by the information that they have today. This is subject to change, Blake. But John Cohen told us that he felt like that it was about an 85% chance that student athletes would be on campus sometime in June.
Yeah.
And
again,
again, it's day-to-day.
Voluntary workout platform. And I think we've seen the groundwork laid for that because the NBA has just reopened their facilities for voluntary workouts.
Right.
Major League Baseball is setting that up for certain facilities. Obviously, they have a little bit. The NBA and the Major League Baseball have a different scenario because they're trying to play immediately, whereas the NFL has a little bit of time. College football has a little bit of time. So states that are in more disarray than others have time to get their stuff together. But I thought what San Antonio Jeremy tweeted or texted us earlier on the Mississippi Ag text line is if an NFL team gets moved to San Antonio because of their state, they'll go watch because San Antonio has the dome. He said we'll go watch games in the dome.
I see.
So
if the Rams or the Chargers or the 49ers,
somebody like
California, if California decides they can't allow teams to practice or train or play, right? Then San Antonio could be a town that grabs an NFL team for a year.
Something like that. I mean, that's the theory, I guess. Could we see a basketball team? Could one of the California basketball teams play in Seattle? Right?
Well, I think it'd be more
that they'd have to go more east. Yeah. So see, there's just all kinds of weird.
Seattle, Portland, San Fran, LA will all kind of line up
in their decision-making process.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? But they may all be swimming in the same pool. Now, Arizona. Speaking of the Pac-12, let's get into this. John Cohen said that I don't remember exactly how I framed the question, Blake, but the SEC may do something different than the Pac-12, right? The Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 may decide we're going to go at this date. And the Pac-12 may decide, we're either not going to go or we're not going to start until October 1 or November 1. As Commissioner Sankey has said, John Cohen, Keith Carter, and others, they've said, the plan right now is to start on time. That's subject to change. What do you think?
I had this exact conversation with two people yesterday about when, and they said, "Oh, well, they're not going to, they're going to start on time because they need the money." And I said, "Well, yes, but you have to understand, starting a month late is tantamount to saying, hey, we're doing everything we can to not start." You know what I mean? Like that, right. They're going to start a month late if that means they can have football, and they're going to play without fans if that means they can have football. Because the money's not in ticket sales. Although we like those things, there is money there. The money's in the TV. And so not having those contracts pay out because you don't have football games play is much more detrimental to overall athletic department budgets than not having fans for one season.
So the NFL, we were texting back and forth with someone else this morning, Blake, and the NFL is planning for 20% occupancy.
Which is...
And I think they're going
low.
super conservative and low to err on the side of this is where we think the revenue will fall.
Well, okay, what's easier for kids too, right? If you're like going to take your kids to get ice cream after a long day, if you tell them in advance, they think about it, and then if the ice cream store is closed, you're in trouble.
Sure,
because you told us we were getting ice cream.
Sure.
So what's the NFL doing? They're treating us like kids. If we tell you can have a cookie and then we show up and there's fudge brownies and ice cream, you're ecstatic. But if we tell you you're going to have an ice cream sundae and we show up and all you get is a cookie, you're going to be upset. Pitch the low end so that in theory, if things are better than what you expect, you can increase it and you look better. If you pitch the high end and we go to 20% instead of the 50 that you say you're going to do, that looks like a negative. That's a black eye.
It's the whole what I use. You tell me that we're going to
Shapley,
O'Charlie's to get a steak.
Yeah.
And then you take me to Kessler Prime.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I'm thinking all day, okay, that sounds like a pretty good maybe
We're going to go get a good burger, and then you take me to a steakhouse. That's awesome.
That's it. A delicious cheeseburger, or I don't even know if O'Charlie's is still open, but whatever.
I haven't seen one in years.
And then we go to Kessler Prime.
Yeah, but the flip side is that like if you promise, it's why it made no sense to cancel everything so early. It's also why it doesn't make sense to just come out and say we're playing September 5th verbatim. It doesn't make sense to do either. Because if you promise one or the other, if you say we're not playing football, then season tickets are gone. Donorships are gone. Like those donations are gone. You can't say that we're done, but you also can't say it's verbatim happening this day. Because if it doesn't happen that day, even if you still start a month later, if you say we're starting that day for sure and you delay it by a month, you're losing people. You're losing money.
Right.
So you just can't say that.
But I think they've handled it well. I think the SEC and the NFL have handled it well.
Well, the NFL's been the best at it of the major sports leagues. It has to have been. And then,
and don't you think they'll watch and monitor what MLB does and how that goes, and if the NBA gets back into it, I guess somewhat the PGA, although we're going to start the PGA without spectators, but they're going to get it going. I'm sure they're in. How's NASCAR doing? You mentioned MMA, I think earlier.
Yeah. To me, the one that you have to kick out, and I don't understand. Mark Cuban has mentioned this. I don't really know why the NBA is not kind of just working towards this. Is just bringing their teams back to one central location in an okay, safe state
in Vegas,
and doing non-fan, like basically just doing single location games. Finish either calling the season where it is or finishing it with a couple games and then going into a tournament mode for the playoffs. Something's got to go. Something's got to give.
We're going to play. NFL will play. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC. We don't know about the Pac-12. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We'd love to hear from you. Does it matter as far as this fall if you're going to attend a game, whether it's in a dome or an outside stadium? Does it matter to you? The Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-ESPN, and the show is powered by the award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club and the Azaleas in the Oaks courses at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Hour number 3 coming up.